सदाशिवसमारम्भात् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. My pranams to my Sadguru Sri Narasimha Prabhuji, my parents who are responsible for putting me on this path, and of course to Vani and Vasuji, without whom I wouldn't today. Thank you so much, and thank you all the audience who have come here logged in on a Monday evening to listen to this talk. Really, really very happy to have you all, and I'm so happy to be back on this forum. So the title of today's talk is "Catch Me If You Can." So I'm sure you're all aware of this phrase from Muhammad Ali, right? So it is a very catchy phrase, and it can be applied to so many things in life. And I felt it is the best suited for Vedanta. How to find myself? That's the hardest question that one can ever face, a human being can face in life. And this is a good phrase to describe that, right? So, okay, now I want to share with you all an incident, a conference that I came to know about. It was a conference on Vedanta. Not those heavyweight conferences of earlier times, during the Vedic times. Apparently, they used to have all these rishis and munis, used to do lots of tapas all the time. They used to gather in a place called Naimisharanya in the Himalayas, or some forest, and they would sit for days together and do Brahma Jignasa. But today, in the 21st century and in COVID times, we are going to have a virtual conference. There are always these virtual conferences are happening all the time, and maybe not that dense Sanskrit, but in a language which we can all understand, and probably a dumbed down version. So I'm talking
Purnima, sorry to interrupt you.
Yes, tell me.
Are you wearing earphones?
No, you want me to?
Yeah, because your voice keeps, there are small breaks in between.
Just a minute, then give me a minute, okay?
Yeah. No?
Mr. Bhannu Ramaswamy, please mute. Please mute your line. It causes disturbance.
Vasu,
yeah, I think it should be better now. You just resume and see.
Okay. So I was telling you about a conference that I came to know about, and it was about modern Vedanta in modern language. Okay. So the title of this conference was "Catch Me If You Can," and the speakers they had a very stringent level of entry level. They had multiple levels of interviews and tests and presentations that they had to give. And finally, 9 of them were selected for the final conference, okay? And in this conference, there was a prize, which was also called Catch Me If You Can. And what were the terms of the conference? Each of the participants had to talk about myself, okay? So, yes with a capital, self with a capital S, myself. what is myself? What do you think? The speakers were asked to articulate what was their intrinsic quality which they identified with the most. All of us wear many hats, right? We do many things. We have several roles to play, but among them, it is just one with which we identify the most. When somebody asks, "Who are you?" I will say, "I'm a journalist," because that is my most important activity in my whole life, or something like that. So that was the objective of the conference, and these 9 people were chosen to talk about this ultimate topic. But there were a few conditions, there were a few metrics that were set, and participants had to adhere to those metrics. So whatever they shared, whatever the presentation was, one of the conditions was what the definition they gave of themselves should be an universal definition. That means that definition should be applicable to everybody and across time. If I say I am a mother, then that motherhood should apply to everybody and across all, 1,000 years ago and the 1,000 year hence, it should apply. That was one condition. The second condition was the quality they described should be an independent quality. Okay, it should be an unconditional quality, which doesn't need other conditions to be fulfilled to be set. Okay, that was one of the conditions. And of course, there would definitely be a question answer round in the end, and so it should stand the scrutiny. Any questions that were thrown, it should be answered to their satisfaction, to the satisfaction of the judges and the audience and the other competitors. Okay, so this was the challenge the speakers faced. So let us see who all came to speak here. So number 1, the first speaker was a very smart young woman. Okay, she was a successful entrepreneur. She was maybe in her late 30s or early 40s, and she was a serial entrepreneur. I'm sure you've heard of the term serial entrepreneur, which is she had founded successful startups, successfully founded and carried on startups, and more than 1, 2 or 3 startups. She had been successful, and she had sold them and moved on to other startups. And she was a serial entrepreneur. She was a consultant for young startup children. She used to advise them, and she had made lots of money. She had raised lots of money. She had made lots of money, and she was internationally known, highly successful woman of the present times. And she said, she was the first speaker, and she said, I have done all this. I have been very successful. I have traveled across the world. I have met hundreds of people, lots of people. I love my job. I love training young people and all that. But still, if you ask me what is myself, I love my child very much. Okay, my daughter is my universe. I would give all this up for my daughter. I would anytime. Whatever I'm doing, whatever part of the world I am, whatever I may be engaged in the most complex projects, or but at the back of my mind, I have my daughter. It's always there in my mind. Okay, and when I'm in town, I make it a point to be home when she comes home from school, and I make it a point to make her breakfast and pack her tiffin and send her. And I check her homework. I do everything for my daughter. She is about 10 years old, and she is my universe. So I would say myself is my daughter, is my child. Myself is my child. That is my definition. So she said her motto was, I love, therefore I am. So who are you and why do you exist? I exist for my daughter, because of my daughter. She is my existence. She is the be all and end all of my existence. That was the presentation of this young woman. Okay, so she went, and the second speaker came. Who was the second speaker? The second speaker was another interesting person, and she was a dancer. She was a dancer and also a successful artist, an actor. And you can see from her pose that she could express. Her motto was, I express, therefore I am. I express, therefore I am. She was a legendary classical dancer. What was her mojo? You know what she said? First of all, she said thank you to the woman who just finished speaking. And she said, Madam, I want to tell you something. Your child will grow up and go, okay? And I don't think, if this love that you have for your child is going to carry on forever with the same intensity. And if you are expecting that love to be coming back to you, I'm sorry very much, because everyone cares for their own self, okay? And she gave a little story which was told by Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So a boy who wanted to go on the spiritual path, he was a very bright student, and the guru told the young man, look, you are meant for this path, so you just leave everything and come with me, and I'll groom you into this is the path you have to take. This grihastha ashrama is all, you are done with all this, you come with me. So the boy said, no, my family wants me, I'm their breadwinner, my children are small, my mother is old, my wife needs me, and I'm sure they will not, they will not allow me to go at all. They love me so much, they won't allow me to go. So the guru said, okay, I'll tell you how it goes. And he did a little charade. And he gave that boy a little, some herb, which made him, his breath.
I'll try in that because my battery is going down.
His heartbeat, was low for some time. The guru managed to do that for the boy, and he pretended to be dead. And all the family members came and gathered around him, and they all started wailing and all that. And they begged the guru, how can you let this happen to our man? How did you allow him to die? You are there, you're such a powerful man, do something about it. And so the guru said, okay, I have a choice. If somebody else is willing to die on his behalf, I can bring him back to life. But I cannot, there has to be, a death. And one of you have to volunteer to die on his behalf, then I'll bring him back. Obviously, the young wife said, no, I can't. My children are too little, they need me. And obviously, the children were too little, so they couldn't be sacrificed. And the old daddy said, no, what will this poor lady do with the children without me, without any husband also? Who will guide her? I have to take care of her. What to do, fate? Oh, his time has come, my son has to go, it's very bad, but I'm sorry, Guruji, please take. We can't help it. And then the young man woke up and said, okay, this was the family I was attached to. I had invested all my life in this, in these people. Okay, fine, I understand their sentiments. Now I understand my sentiment too. And he walked away with the guru. So this is to say that we are under an illusion that, people that around us are the be-all and end-all of existence. So that was what the dancer told the young woman who, previous lady who spoke. She said, look, I know that I am most important to me. I myself are the most important to me. Okay, my body is very important to me because I am an artist. I am a dancer. I can express everything in the world through my body, through my mudras, through my expressions, through my, from my poses, from my bhangis. Anything in the world I can express. I can express through my speech also, from my eyes, through my eyes I can express. I don't need anything else. My body is my life. My body is my life. And if that is why I exist. I exist because of my body. So her motto was, I express, therefore I am. So this was the second speaker. And she took a lovely bow. She did a namaskara to the stage and she went. So who was the third speaker? Now this was a very, very interesting person came on stage next. It was very interesting. He was an international wine taster. He was a very stylish man, and with a flourish he did a bow and he came on stage and he told the other two ladies, he bowed to the two ladies on stage before him and he said, thank you, madam, he said. And he said, my motto is, I sense, therefore I am. So what is this I sense? He said, I'm a wine taster. I have tasted the best wines across the world, the best brands. And I'm hugely in demand by all these wine companies because they trust my sense of taste. And don't think that wine tasting is just about the taste, the tongue. It's about all the five senses. When I look at the wine, I can see how, I can tell you how old it is. When I touch the cask, when I, strike the glass, with the sound, I can understand from where it came from. When I smell the wine, I know something else about the wine. So all the five, and of course the taste, and when it swirls, the little noise it makes, that also it matters to me. So this senses, without the senses, what can the body do, madam? He asked the previous woman. Without the senses, how can you express? Without the eyes that can't see anything, how will you describe anything with your body? Huh? If you haven't seen an elephant, can you express how an elephant is? Isn't it? So this way, he demolished the argument of the previous speaker, the dancer. And he says, the senses are everything. You experience the world through your senses. Without the senses, nothing. You can't do anything, So that was the argument of the wine taster, the international wine taster. And again, with a flourish, he bowed to the stage, to the audience, and he left. So after the wine taster came the Yogacharya. So this one was a quirky yoga teacher. Okay, he was a celebrity yoga teacher, and he had a flourishing business and a beautiful studio in none less than upstate Los Angeles. And all the Hollywood, stars were his students. They used to come to his yoga studio and they used to learn yoga from him, and all sorts of beautiful practices they used to learn from him. So the Yogacharya said, his motto was, I breathe before I am. I breathe before I am. And you know what he told the wine taster and the other people on the stage? He said, my dear people, my dear ladies and gentlemen, it's fine. You have a body, you have a family, you have the senses, but if you don't have a life breath in you, if the life force is not moving in you, what will you do with all that? The life force is the most important, right? The life force is what? When there is no prana at all in you, what's the use of having a body without a prana, isn't it? So that is the most important thing. And because of the prana, there are 5 types of pranas. All of them maintain your body and your senses, isn't it? We have the apana, we have the regular prana, which is the one which goes into your lungs and it helps you breathe and all that. Then you have the apana vayu, which takes care of your digestive system. Then you have the samana vayu, which takes care of the circulation, and udana vayu, which that takes care of the higher energies of the body. And the other one, I'm sorry, I'm not getting, that is takes care of your digestive system, and all the other systems in the body are taken care of by the 5 pranas. So unless you take care of the pranas, unless you know how to breathe, your body will not work, your senses will not work, and you will just waste away. And if you can control the prana, you can control your the health of the body also and the senses, so keep them healthy. So that was the argument of the Yogacharya. All right, and by now the audience, they were listening to all the arguments with great care, and they were making notes. Oh yeah, when each and every person spoke, they said, yes, correct. When the first one said, my family is everything, everybody could relate to that. Yes, of course, the family is everything. Of course, I love my child. What will I do? So they were very happy when she came. When the second, the dancer came and said, the body is everything, and I expressed to my body, of course, true. What will you do without the body? So the body is very important. They were very happy, and they gave 1 mark more to the lady who said the body is important. Then the wine taster came with the sense argument, and it was perfectly valid argument. The senses are so important. Even if one is gone, it's it's very difficult, right? And so this Yogacharya had even better point, the life force. Actually, there's a story about these pranas, uh, these senses in the pranas. Apparently, once they all went to Prajapati Brahma, yeah, the caretaker of the universe, the Prajapati, and they had a competition. Okay, they had a competition, and they went and challenged. They were challenging each other. Who is more important? Which sense is more important? And so they went to Brahma. So the first one said, mm, the sense of the sound said, though Brahma gave them a solution. He said, all of you take leave for 1 week and let us see how the others behave. Okay, how they manage. So once the first time this one went, the sense of sound, the hearing went, but the body was managing pretty well without the deaf body was managing pretty well. And then he came back. The sense of sound came back, and then the sense of speech went. The faculty of speech went. So the person became mute. But it was difficult. But yeah, the person was able to manage. And then like this, one by one, all the senses left. And when the sense of sight went, it was really, really, really difficult. But still, all the other faculties were working, so the person managed. But when the prana left, everything went fast. Okay, so the prana was the winner, and everybody agreed, Baba, please be there. Only if you are there, we are able to work. Don't go anywhere. So like that, the Yogacharya's argument seemed to have more weight in this instance. Okay, so after the Yogacharya, who came next? We have a psychologist on the panel now. He came and he made his presentation. The psychologist was dealing with minds all his life. He was dealing with minds. And he had very valid points to make. So people were kind of convinced with the Yogacharya, but now the psychologist has come with another angle. So now he's saying, I think, therefore I am. So now he explains what he means by that. So the psychologist told the Yogacharya, okay, boss, this prana and all is fine, but even without you being very active also, when people are in coma, they are breathing, okay? So when people are in coma, they are breathing, or they are kept artificially, they are breathing with a ventilator. But if the mind is not working like the person in a coma, what is the use of having prana? Now tell me. Just think. Mind is so important. All the faculties that we were talking about until then are useless without when the mind is not working, no? So what is the use of having the breathe? Now we see how oxygen cylinders are in great demand. There are several people. We have heard of people being in coma for years and years and years. They're being kept alive. The prana is being pumped into them. But none of their other faculties are working, right? Because their mind is dead. Nothing is being registered. So mind is more superior and very, very important for a meaningful life. For a person to be called a person, he has to have a mind. What's the use? So that was the argument of the psychologist. And people said, hey, wow, correct. The mind is important. What's the use of breathing if you don't have a mind? So their audience and all the other people, they went on to give this guy 1 more marks than the other person. Then came the next speaker. Let us see what this person said. The next speaker, the audience was very, very intrigued. They were thinking, okay, Baba, what else is there to talk about? Then came the scientist. You know, scientists and professors are very cerebral people. The intellect is very important for them, right? Without the intellect, what the use was his point of view. And he said, I create, therefore I am. He said, he addressed the audience as well as the other people on stage. He said, all of you would have done nothing in your life if people had not created. If great intellects had not created all the beautiful things in the world, the scientists who have invented all these beautiful, all these wonderful, useful gadgets for you, or discovered so many new things for you, this technology that you're using right now, the virtual conference you're having, that is created by superior intellects, okay? And everything of value in the world is because of the intellect. The beautiful paint, be it an artist or a sculptor or a dancer or whatever it is, it's because of the superior intellect that they're able to enjoy the world. Just imagine if just people are there with senses and mind and prana and whatnot, but without any brains. What is the use? So the intellect definitely scores more than all the other faculties. So I create, therefore I am. Creation is also the quality of the universe. The universe is always creating, always. And look at the variety of creation in the universe. Without intelligence, none of this would have been possible. So the intellect is more important than all the other faculties. So this was the stand of the scientist. And the scientist had come on stage, but he was speaking for all the innovators and the artists and out-of-the-box thinkers of the world. He was talking on their behalf, who had made the intellect, made use of the intellect and created a beautiful world for all of us. So that was this scientist point of view. And then the audience was mind blown. He said, yes, it is very, very important. How could we not even think of the intellect? Just while they were saying that, there was one more speaker on the stage, and she was a hypnotherapist. She was a hypnotherapist. She was very popular across the world. People used to queue. They had to book in advance for months together to have an audience with her. And her argument was, I remember, therefore I am. I remember, therefore I am. So what is this remembrance? She told the other people on stage and the audience, okay, I think then by the time the person who was emceeing the whole thing, he said, Madam, you're the next speaker. One more person who needs to come. Okay. So that was a mistake. Please take your seat later, madam. Please. And he invited one more person, which was this person. She was an explorer. She was an adventurer. She came after the intellect, not the memory person. She came after the intellect. And this person said she was a daring explorer. I call her the daring explorer because she had an organization called Extreme Experience. And she organized all these fantastic adventure sports for people. And she used to take them to exotic places, make them do bungee jumping and river rafting and skydiving and all sorts of highly adventurous sports she used to make people do. And she had scaled all the big mountains that they were in the universe. And she was a very motivated and highly charged young woman. And she was very successful. And her motto was, I experience, therefore I am. Her motto was, I experience, therefore I am. So what is this? What was this young woman's argument? So she told the other people in the audience, my dear people, all of you are going on and on about your own stuff. But are you all hanging in space without anything? The mind is hanging by itself, the sense is hanging by itself, the intellect is hanging by itself, the body is hanging by itself. I am the person in which all of you are integrated. I experience, because of all of you, there's an experience, right? Without one faculty, without the other is useless. So I, the ego, am the person who puts it all together. I'm the one who enjoys. I'm the one who experiences, be it anything, joy, sorrow, birth, death, happiness, disease, death, suffering, everything. There is this entity called the person who enjoys everything or experiences everything, right? So the experience is the most important thing. Without the experience, how can you even describe anything? If you haven't experienced, there has to be one organic entity which experiences things. So I am the entity which takes ownership of all this and makes it all, integrate them together. So I am the ego, and the ego and our experience. I am the one who does. I am the one who enjoys. I am the one who doesn't do also. I am the one. I mean, you have to go through me for any of this. I am the most important person over here. That was the argument of this young girl, this extreme experiences person. Okay. And then the MC, he said, sorry, madam, okay, now the memory person can come in, he said, and the other lady came on stage, and she took the stage, and she was a hypnotherapist, and in particular, she was a past life regression therapist, PLRT it is called, past life regression therapy. Her argument was, and her motto was, I remember, therefore I am. I remember, therefore I am. You know what she said? She had a very, very valid point to me. She said, my dear adventurer, she was telling the previous person. See, because all the other arguments were shot on by the next speaker. So the upcoming speaker had to only tackle the person who was behind him or her, right? So this lady, the hypnotherapist, she attacked the ego person. She said, my dear adventurer, experiencer, enjoyer, you know why you are here? Because you remember the experience you have and you like it. You know why again and again you reach for a cup of coffee? Because in your memory, it's already recorded that coffee tastes like this, and I like the taste. So that is the importance of memory. And believe you me, as a hypnotherapist, as a past life regression therapist, I have seen people suffering because of the memories of their past time. And even your famous Vedanta, what did it say? It says you come back and take a life again and again because of your vasanas or ingrained memories, ingrained habits. It's in your DNA. What you have seen, what you have done, what you have experienced is etched in your memory so deeply, which is why you come back to experience it more. That's why you come back. Why have you become an adventurer? Because you remember that this gives me a lot of thrill, and you are perpetuating the same memory again and again by experiencing it again and again. So the hypnotherapist said, this memory is the one which drives the whole world. It's all a question of memory. Otherwise, if you had no memory, people will just, you cannot function basically. Even your limbs, your organs, your cells have memory, you know. Your memory is written on the cells. That is why there are so many species and they produce the same species, because it's in their DNA. So the memory is everything. And because of the memories, people enjoy or they suffer. Everything is because of memory. This was the presentation of this past life regression therapist. Now the audience was foxed. There were so many arguments and so many, everything seemed to be valid at its own level, isn't it? They were all quite confused now. He said, what do we do? Whom do we select for whom do we think is the right person? And then came the next speaker, she was a revered spiritual leader. Very, very ordinary looking woman, very, very composed. She was looking very happy, she was looking very calm. this person, she was very simple looking lady, very with a soft smile on her face, and simply dressed, and no ha ha hoo like the other speakers behind her. She was a very calm and soft lady, very puny, also very petite woman, and she was wearing saffron, and she came on stage and she said, "My dear people," and especially she addressed the person who was behind her, the memory person. She said, "My dear woman, you said you remember, therefore you are. I'm saying I don't remember, therefore I am." Completely contrary to what the other person was saying. He said, "Look, my dear child, you know why we take a birth again and again and again? Yes, first, like you said, there is the memory which makes us come back again and again. But if we had sense of that memory, we wouldn't be making the same mistakes. That's because we forget what we have done in previous times. We come back for more. We forget. And isn't it very logical? Correct? No? If I knew that, if I know that fire will burn me, I'll not put my hand again. If I know that this world is a rotten place, a filthy place, which is full of suffering, I will not come back to experience it again. No, that's because I don't remember that I come back. Very valid point this spiritual head was making, that this sannyasi was making, sannyasini, isn't it? And she explored and she expanded on this theme a little more. The sannyasini said, when you go to sleep, all your activities come to nil, come to naught, isn't it? You lose your body, sense is gone. The mind, you don't know where the mind has gone. Your senses are not operating. Nothing that you, all the things that you talked about is not operating. Nothing. When you are in deep sleep, when you're dreaming, yes, all these things are going on at another level. But when you're in deep sleep, nothing of this, zero. And in Sanatana Dharma, this is called Ajnana. Because after I wake up from deep sleep, I don't know what was happening there when I was deeply asleep, where my body had gone, from where it came, I don't know anything about it. But then I just wake up and everything is back again, and things are happening as usual, everything is in its place. So the sannyasini said, this is a state of ajnana, which we're all in, all individuals, all of us jivas, jivatmas are in ignorance. And that is our state. In deep sleep, there is ignorance, but there is deep peace also. Deep peace and ignorance on our part. As an individual, I'm ignorant. I don't know from where I came. But every day, I wake up from ignorance and I go back into ignorance. So that must be my permanent state, no? Yes or no? I'm going back every day willingly, happily. I go back into that state of deep peace and deep ignorance also, because I have no idea what's happening there when I'm deeply asleep. And then I come back for more. Every day, day in and day out, I love to do it. And I do it. I go to sleep and I come back from sleep. So ignorance, my dears, ajnana is our state, and that is our nature. Ajnana is our nature. We don't know who created, what created, how we are created, how the world is created. So we just acknowledge that we have ajnana and we surrender to God. That was what this Swamini said. So now all the 9 speakers had finished talking. Then the audience were utterly amazed with all the inputs they had got. And what the Swamini said made utter sense to them. And ultimately, when we are in the waking state, all that was said makes sense. But when you go to sleep, yes, correct. Every day I'm going back into ignorance only. And that very state, I don't know anything about it. So ignorance is really my existence. So I don't remember, therefore I am. Sounded very cool. So now the judges were confused. They were saying, okay, now what do we do? Whom do we? Then they asked the audience, any questions? And everybody was looking at each other. They didn't know what to do. There's one person who came up. He says, "Sir, please, may I ask questions?" So the organizers were very relieved. They said, "Okay, now that this should be fun, so that it will give us more metrics on which to give questions, marks to all these participants, because each of them had made a beautiful case for themselves." Okay, this man, this very, very ordinary looking person from the audience, he looked so nondescript, and I mean, he didn't look like he was anything great. But he came to the front, and a mic was given to him, and he started asking questions. He said, "Yes," all the participants sat up straight and said, "Okay." They were wondering to whom he was going to ask questions. So the person said, I have a one question to all of you. I have one question to ask of all of you. Okay. He said, "Okay, fine." So first and foremost, he talked to the young entrepreneur. He said, "Madam, you said your child is yourself. You said your child is yourself. But there are some conditions which were supposed to be fulfilled when we started this conference. One was, it has to be universally applicable. Number two, it had to be unconditional, right? Yes. So everybody loves their families. Everybody loves their children. Tell me which fool will say I don't love my child?" I said, "Madam, suppose you don't have a child. Suppose you don't have a family. We have so many, I'm sure there are hundreds of people in the world who don't really have families or don't really care much for them. Or there are people who are alone, rotting in old age homes or orphanages or whatever. What do you say about them? Is for them, will they cease living because they don't have anybody to love? What about people who don't have children or families? Will they stop? Won't they have an identity because they don't have a child or a family to love? So I'm sorry, your argument is not unconditional and it is not universal. It is very, very, very specific. And the love you're talking also is about not universal love. It is about your love for your own people and for your family." Sorry, he said. Then that woman sat down. She didn't know what to say. And then the second one was the actor dancer. Okay, who said, "My body is my Atma. My body is myself." That was the argument of the famous dancer. Okay, he said, "Madam, you said your body, you express everything through your body all the time." Agreed, correct. All of us express through our bodies all the time. But in sleeping also you're expressing. But your body is lying on the bed. You're not expressing through your body, no. But some expression is happening in your dream also. Lots of expression. In fact, even more fantastic expression is happening in your dream than in your waking state. Yes or no? No, that one was boxed. She hadn't thought of that angle at all. I said, so again, she sat up. Then our this person from the audience tackled the wine taster. Okay, he was the next person. He said, "Sir, you said the senses are everything. Correct, the five senses. Life is wonderful because of the senses. Admit, we agree. But this is also not a universal quality. Why? That depends on the capacity of the individual senses. Okay, a bat has a different kind of sense, the hearing capacity, seeing capacity. A bat is different. For example, a bat, that bird or whatever it is, it has a different capacity. Suppose you have X-ray eyes. Suppose you are Superman. Your eyes see a different reality. A man with who has got a vision of 9+, very bad myopia. He has a different capacity to see, and people have to wear hearing aids to listen. And in the sound frequencies of people, of animals, birds, people, they are hugely different. So it is not a metric which can be equally applied to. It depends on your view, your perception, that the senses will work according to your perception. For example, if you wear yellow color glasses, the whole world will look yellow to you. Then you depend on your senses, sir. They are not at all reliable. Okay, the senses are not reliable. So I reject, he said, as an audience, as the person who is listening to this talk, I reject your arguments. And then he came to the yoga teacher. He said, the life breath, the life force is everything. That was what the Yogacharya said. And so this man said, sir, agreed. The prana is everything. The prana is very, very, very important. Of course, it's the basic basis of human being for living. But you are also not unconditional. You depend on, the body depends on water and food too. Okay? If the body is starved of water and food, the food, it can stay up to food for whatever 40 days or whatever without water for 40 days, then you are forced to leave. So your existence depends on the other conditions, which is not an unconditional thing you have. Okay, if so many other things cooperate, only your importance is there. If willfully someone starves themselves to death, then you are forced to leave the body, isn't it? So the prana is myself theory was also dunked by this smart person from the audience. Then he came to the psychologist. He said, the mind is everything. He said, sir, this is a no-brainer. Literally. What about mentally challenged people? Huh? They're not even, they have, for all practical purposes, their minds are not, helping them to lead a proper life, isn't it? So the mind is also not a reliable, metric of existence. To say my mind is my atma, because it differs for different people, and it does not give a fulfilling life for everybody as we know it. Mentally challenged is just one example I can think of. What about an infant, a baby? It is there. It is just purely there. It doesn't necessarily have a developed mind, isn't it? So the mind can also be taken as a definition of myself or Atma. And then came the scientist who said the intellect is everything. So again, here the same argument as the mind. It's a very selective quality, even more selective, even more so than the mind. At least everybody has a rudimentary mind. But the intellect is the gift given to, selected few, not few, lots. But then again, here the degrees vary. What about failures who haven't done anything in their lives? They haven't made use of their intellect at all. Forget about failures and intelligent people and all that. Look at us in everyday life. We keep saying, "Arey, I made a mistake." Huh? How many times are we always optimally making use of the intellect at all times? We are not. We make mistakes when we take decisions based on some parameters, but it won't work out. Say, like investing in a share market or something. Not always your decisions are always perfect, or your creations or your everything is perfect all the time. So the intellect also is not a uniform metric or unconditional metric that can be applied under all circumstances. So Vijnana is called, the intellect is called as Vijnana in Sanskrit. That is also not the Atma. Then he came to the ego, which is the Ahankara. So that person was saying experience, the integrated personality is everything. So this was a very simple thing to say, to cross out. That person said, everything vanishes in sleep. Everything vanishes. The whole package deal collapses into nothingness when you go to sleep. I'm very sorry. So I don't even want to spend too much time dwelling on this particular aspect. The whole package deal from the ego backwards, everything vanishes when you go to sleep. So that is also not a permanent metric to apply. It cannot be. So what is coming and going cannot be your personality. That cannot be the Atma. Then came the memory, the hypnotherapist. Of course, the same thing, totally unreliable. So this person asked the hypnotherapist, "Madam, what did you have for breakfast yesterday?" So she had to scratch her brains and she actually couldn't answer. She said, "See, It is such an unreliable metric you are saying is your existence. Is it possible? How can you base your life with that, based on that memory? It is the most unreliable instrument of all. The memory will give you heart when you want it the most. Please don't say that your memory is the Atma. No, it is not a. What about people with amnesia? We have heard of people who have got amnesia, short-term memory loss, long-term memory loss, so many kinds of things. But memory is also not a proper metric to apply. Then the Swamini was very happy that her turn had come, and she was quite confident that this was the only answer there was to the question, what is myself? Okay, so the Swamini was waiting for the question, and the smart person from the audience asked, Mataji, if you are saying that you are ignorant, why? That means you don't know anything. So how do you know that you are correct about this answer of yours? And if you are, if you know that you are ignorant, that is not ignorance, no, that's knowledge. You get this? It's a very subtle point. If you don't know, if you know that you don't know something, you know something, no. See, ignorance and knowledge, they have to coexist. Like, if you don't know something, at least you know that you don't know something. That's somewhere that knowledge is there. So you cannot say ignorance is my nature, because you have some knowledge of that. And if you are ignorant, then how can I take your words for as sure? You are an ignorant person, no? Why should I believe you? I mean, how should anybody believe you? So that was a plain sort of talking he did to this woman of God, and people were quite shocked, but they understood, they got the logic of it. So if you are ignorant and you know that you are ignorant, you have some knowledge. And if you are really ignorant, why should I believe you? I mean, if you say I'm a fool, then I will definitely not believe you, right? So that was the kind of argument this person was giving. And everybody was stunned. Everybody was stunned. And then this person said, look, I would like to ask you all, everybody, please answer me. I have got some questions for you. And he said to the audience also, please answer my question. Do you all agree that your identities, whatever you told right now, are they changing or not? He asked. All the identities that you described just now, the body, the mind, the intellect, the senses, the ego, the memory, the ignorance, the experience, all these things. Do you agree that these are all changing? Was the body the same throughout your life? Has your mind remained the same all the time? Has your capacity to understand things undergone a change? The intellect, has it changed or not? And your memories, of course, are they changing or not? Everything that you all mentioned, they have never been constant. They're always changing, yes or no? He all said yes, yes, yes. The audience also nodded yes. Correct. Nothing that was described so far has changed, has remained the same. Then the next question the man asked was, okay, now that you agree that all these things were changing, do you agree that there is an element of continuity in your identity? Whatever. See, do you have a continuity? Do you have a feeling that I exist through all this change? Okay, for example, if you are put in a dark room, your mind is taken, I mean, all your senses are taken away, you can't see anything, you can't feel anything. But if somebody asks you, is there a chair in the room? You'll say, no, I can't see. And if it's a vacuum filled room, you can't hear a sound also. All these things are happening. But if somebody asks, are you there? You said, yes, I am there. Isn't it? That sense of I am is there with you all the time. Yes or no? When you're a baby, the sense of I am was there. When you had sense, the I am is there. When you're nonsense, the sense of, even a mentally challenged person has a sense of I am. Even a person who has not all the faculties in order, he has a sense of I am. Everybody feels I am. There is no proof to required to say I'm not. I'm always there. Even after you wake up from a deep sleep, you're able to say, I am. You're able to say, I am. Yes or no? You have existed through all the changing states that were just described. Yes or no? All of them had to say, yes, you're right, sir. So what is that? That unchanging element in you is your identity, said this person. That unchanging element in you, in all the changing states, is your correct identity. So who was this person? They were all wondering, who is this man? Okay. And he said, okay, I am he said, I'm a very ordinary person, and my motto is, I exist, therefore I am. I don't need any other thing to describe me. My existence is all that is required, isn't it? My means everybody. It's a universal, you can apply it universally for everybody without exception. And it is unconditional. This existence of mind is unconditional. Whether I have a mind or not, whether I have senses or not, whether I have a body or not, that sense of I exist is always there. And many near-death experiences have said that the sense of existence continues even after death. There are many researchers and theories which have said that sense of I am, I exist never changes. Okay, and this person who was talking, and they asked him, who are you, what's your name? He said, I don't know my name, but the people call me a Jivan Mukta. What is the Jivan Mukta? Jivan Mukta is a person who is free from all sorts of illusions in this very life. All sorts of illusions that I am the body, my body is important, my senses are important, all the illusions that they were talking about, all the things they were talking about, that Jivan Mukta is free from these definitions of life. Okay, that means he's free from suffering. Life is suffering because we attach importance to all the things that we described just now. And the Jivan Mukta is one who knows that existence is my essence. Existence is my essence. So I have nothing to worry about. Like even whether my body is here or not there, whether my mind is not, I'm always there. That is the essence of existence. But this was a very difficult concept to grasp. So all the people asked him, please tell us more what's happening. How do we understand this particular thing that you're telling us? Okay. So he said, imagine you're in space. The space is dark, right? The deep space that is very dark. Why is it dark? Is there not a sun shining all the time in the universe? Yet the space is dark. Why? Because there's nothing to reflect the light of, isn't it? So when the sun is here and your back is to the sun, when the sun is there and there is no objects, everything is dark. But when an object comes in front of you, the sun lights up the object, and so the object is seen, isn't it? Like moon is seen in the sky, all the stars is seen in the sky, the planets are seen in the sky, like that. But what we are doing is, we are also the same. I am the sun. He's telling everybody, you are the sun. Okay? Your body is coming in front of you. When the body is lit up, the mind is coming in front of you. The mind is lit up. The senses are coming in front of you. The senses are lit up. And you are mistaking that I am the body, I am the senses, I am the mind, blah, 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 everything. The sun, it is like the sun mistaking that I am the moon. Or the sun mistaking that I am the earth, I am the planets. Because the sun cannot see itself. What can the sun do? The sun can only illumine the objects in front of it. So the Jivan Mukta is telling, all the things that you described are mere objects in front of you. You are the light which is illumining these objects. You are the light which is giving energy, or you are the one who is illumining your mind. your senses, your body, your intellect, your ego, your memory, everything is being illumined by this unchanging existence, unchanging energy called, in Vedanta it is called Sat and Chit. So what do we do? The audience was foxed. He said, now what do we do next? How do we realize that? How can the sun realize that? How can this object, what to do with the mind then? What shall I do? Because the mind is always turned away from the sun and it is looking at the world in front of it. So she said, you have to turn your mind towards the sun. Then what will happen? The mind will merge towards the sun. I mean, basically, the mind will merge towards that that principle which is illumining the whole of existence, isn't it? So, what do we do? How do we go about it? So this Jivan Mukta said, welcome to Vedanta class. Welcome to meditation and study circle. This is where you get to hear these truths. Okay, this is where you get to hear these truths, and the method to go about realizing your true self is through a pedagogy of Vedanta, which is called Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. Shravana is the process of listening to the truth from a Sadguru, the person who has realized master, who can tell you your true nature, who can tell you what your true self is, what the Atma is, Sadguru, Shravana. And Manana is the process of assimilating these truths, contemplating on them and making them go inside you more and more. And Nididhyasana is to be established in the truth more and more and becoming so that the truths are going into you, it's established in you. That is Nididhyasana. Okay, this is the pedagogy of Vedanta. So now all these people again, they said, okay, but how do we find a guru? From where will we get a Satguru? And Jivan Mukta said, when you start asking existential questions, existence will provide you a Satguru. That's all. When you ask questions about physics, the physics teacher will come and tell you. When you ask questions about mathematics, the mathematics teacher will come and tell you. If you want to know about cooking, a chef will come and teach you. Similarly, if you want to know about existence itself will come and teach you what you have to know. So that existence comes to you in the form of a Satguru, who is able to tell you in a proper manner what your true nature is. That is the essence of Vedanta. And that is your true nature. This was the message of that Jivan Mukta, the simple person who gave them all these logical and beautiful arguments to say what their essence was all about. So I'm not making all this up. This is actually from a book called Vedanta Sara, which is a book written by a great yogi called Sadananda. Okay, old ancient book. One portion of this book actually has this various theologies, various schools of thought have been expressed in this book. And so all the very first speaker, the entrepreneur who says, my child is myself, it is called the Prakruta. It's the very, very basic kind of understanding of what is life. That is what the book says. And the others are the Charvakas, who just say that body is everything. He's called a Charvaka, and the mind is everything. The body and the senses are everything. That person is called a Charvaka. That school of thought is called the Charvaka school, who say there's nothing else. Just eat, drink, and make merry. There's only one life. Enjoy and go. That is the theory of the Charvakas. And the mind and the intellect and the memory. These are the Buddhist schools. There are some Buddhist schools of thought who had come up with these theories. That says the book. And finally, of course, the hero of the whole thing is Advaita Vedanta, right? So he comes and demolishes all the arguments given by all the other schools of thought. So this was today's presentation. And if we want more, then we need to enroll to Vedanta class and hear from the Sadguru again and again and again. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. That's the only way we can understand our true nature. So that was the presentation. Thank you so much.